Hello everyone, Steve here for Church 365. It is an honor and a privilege to be able to share the word with you again today. And today's message is entitled, At the Feet of Jesus. And I feel that this is kind of a burning message in God's heart right now. Around the world, we're seeing amazing things happen. The Asbury revival, people are gathering together and just worshiping God. We're seeing it at other campuses across North America and the world as people are gathering together at the feet of Jesus, and it's just an incredible time to be alive. And I have the privilege of sharing some of my heart and our heart here for that. Today's reading is mostly going to happen from John 11 and John 12. If you're following with us on the Bible reading plan, we'd love to have you join us and just share in what God is doing there and to partake in what God is showing you personally as well. So if you remember, some of you guys do, this is the story of Lazarus being raised from the dead. And kind of some backstory, Jesus is out having a great time, saving the world, healing the sick, raising the dead, all that good stuff. And he hears that one of his good friends, Lazarus, is sick. But then he does this strange thing, is he stays where he is for 2 more days. Don't know why, but he's Jesus and he got it. And then they leave and they head toward Bethany, where Lazarus lives. And Jesus tells his disciples that the sickness will not end in death, but they're going to go on their way. And as they're walking, Jesus makes it plain to them. It says in verse 14, Lazarus is dead, and for your sake, I'm glad I wasn't there, because now you have another opportunity to see who I am so that you will learn to trust in me. Come, and let's go see him. I want to start off right away at the beginning, recognizing Jesus is on his way to Bethany and he is going to raise Lazarus from the dead. That is his mission, and that's what's going to happen. We skip down here to verse 17. I'm going to read about 12 verses here, and then we're going to talk about it and share. Now, when they arrived at Bethany, which is only 2 miles from Jerusalem, Jesus found that Lazarus had already been in the tomb for 4 days. Many friends of Mary and Martha had come from the region to console them over the loss of their brother. And when Martha heard that Jesus was approaching the village, she went out to meet him, but Mary stayed in the house. Martha said to Jesus, "My Lord, if only you had come sooner, my brother wouldn't have died. But I know that if you were to ask God for anything, he would do it for you." Jesus told her, "Your brother will rise and live." And she said, "Yes, I know he will rise again with everyone else on the resurrection day." "Martha," Jesus said, "you don't have to wait until then. I am the resurrection and I am the life. Anyone who clings to me in faith, even though he dies, will live forever. And the one who lives by believing in me will never die. Do you believe this?" And Martha replies, "Yes, Lord, I do. I have always believed that you are the anointed one, the Messiah, the Son of God, who has come into the world to save us." And she left and hurried off and got Mary. And she told Mary that the Master is here is asking for you. So when Mary heard this, she went up quickly, and for Jesus was still lingering in the same spot, and she ran out of the house, and her friends, they followed her, assuming that she was going to the tomb to mourn. When Mary finally found Jesus outside the village, she fell at his feet in tears and said, "Lord, if only you had been here, my brother would not have died." When Jesus looked at Mary, he saw her weeping at his feet, and all her friends who were there. He shuddered with emotion and was deeply moved with tenderness and compassion. He said, "Where did you bury him?" "Lord, we will come show you." And then the shortest verse in the Bible, Jesus wept. I know it's a lot of reading without pausing here, but I want to get the story in the context. We understand here is Jesus coming for his friends, and Mary and Martha are grieving the loss of their brother, and they're in pain. And Martha comes, and Martha is incredible. At this moment of deep pain and anguish, she comes out and she comes to Jesus. "Lord, if you only been here, my brother wouldn't have died. But I know," like right away, she doesn't even stop her sentence. She goes, "But I know that you are God and that you can raise him from the dead." And she says that she believes that Jesus is the Messiah. Martha is amazing, but nothing happens at this point. Martha comes and talks to Jesus and has her theology spot on. Exactly right. Her reaction is better than I could ever hope for in that situation. She is amazing. And she goes back and gets Mary, and Mary comes out, and Mary just falls at Jesus' feet and says, again, almost the same thing, if you only would have been here, but there's a slight difference. Martha said, "My Lord, if you would only come sooner." And Mary said, "Lord, if you had only been here." It's almost the same thing, but it's different. Martha was amazing, and she had everything lined a row. In Luke 10, we see how that Martha invited Jesus and the disciples to their house to feed them. That's a lot. If you guys, mostly speaking, probably to a lot of women, but men as well. But if you have a big party at your house, it is a lot of work. You have 13 men and who knows how many women and all that's coming over to your house. It's a lot of work, and you don't have microwaves and refrigerators. This is a lot of work. She did all that for her love and devotion for Jesus. But in Luke 10, if you remember, Mary is sitting at Jesus' feet, and Martha says, "Lord, stop her. She needs to come help me." And Jesus answers in Luke 10, verse, I think it's 42 here, "Martha, my beloved Martha, why are you so upset and troubled, pulled away by these many distractions? Mary has discovered the one thing, the most important thing, by choosing to sit at my feet. She is undistracted, and I will not take this privilege from her." Again, coming back to the story with Lazarus in John 11. Martha had everything right. Martha was doing everything right. I can only hope to behave like Martha behaved and have my theology in line. She said she was doing everything as a good Christian is supposed to do. And Mary just comes out and falls at his feet and says, "Jesus, if you just would have been here." And that is what pivoted the moment. And then Jesus goes, and if you know the story, he goes up to the tomb and he calls forth Lazarus, and he's healed. But there's something about Mary at his feet. Again, it's not a performance thing. Jesus was coming to heal Lazarus. Jesus wasn't like, "Oh, I don't like how Martha's approaching this thing. Forget it, Lazarus, you're still stuck in there." No, he was coming there. But the moment that Mary fell at Jesus' feet is the moment that everything changed. And if I look in my own life and I look through Scripture, there's these moments where I've had nothing, I didn't know what else to do, and I just fell at his feet. And those are the moments where I've been the most transformed. And I know in ministry that there's been times when I've known all the right answers and it hasn't helped the people I've talked to, hardly at all. But there's been moments that we've been at the feet of Jesus and I've seen lives changed. If you look at David, he was at the feet of God. He worshiped and he just was relentless. This one thing I ask, and that I will seek, that I may dwell in the house of the Lord forever. There's something about being at the feet of Jesus. Right in the next chapter, Mary is the story of where Mary pours out that the year's worth of wages on Jesus' feet, the oil, the expense of the alabaster jar, the nard on his feet, just that extravagant love and devotion, that one thing mattered to Mary. She may not have done everything right, and Martha is what I would like church to be full of Marthas from an admin point of view and getting stuff done. That's what I think makes sense. But Mary came to his feet and everything changed. And today I want to take a couple of moments here and I want to be like Mary. I felt challenged, like I said at the beginning of this, God is highlighting in this season the importance of sitting at his feet. The movement that's happening again in Asbury and in other places, it's people are gathering together just to worship Jesus and just to be at his feet and just love on him. And lives are being changed. And what I want to do now for a couple minutes, I'd like to, wherever you are, if you're in a busy place, maybe pause this and go find a quiet place, or if you're watching live, hopefully it's quiet. And we're just going to take a couple minutes and we're just going to close our eyes and just fix our gaze on Jesus. Just close your eyes and fix your gaze on Jesus and just begin to tell him your heart. Begin to tell him that, oh, Jesus, you're beautiful. Jesus, you are wonderful. You are so good. And you are so faithful. You see everything going on in our lives and you love us. You called us by name before the foundation of the world. You know the family that we'd be born into. You know the fatherless that are watching. You know the motherless that are watching. You know those that have been hurt and abused and rejected. And you called them by name as your own. You are so good, Jesus. You are so good. In those areas of our life where we have Lazarus in the tomb, we're like, Jesus, if you only would have been here, my brother would not have died. If you only would have been here in this situation, I wouldn't have had to go through this. But you are here to bring Lazarus out of that tomb. You are the God who raises the dead. You are the God who fathers the orphan. You are the God who sets the captives free. And we worship you, God. We worship you and we sit at your feet and we say that all that we are, everything we are is yours, Jesus. And we worship you and we honor you and we glorify you. Wherever you are, it doesn't have to stop right now. You can just keep on pressing in. For the sake of time, I'm going to turn it back to our live stream team. Thank you for how you serve. And if you remember anything from this message, remember that at the feet of Jesus is the most important place in the world that you could ever be. God bless you.